like own. Why do I need a PA? I'm playing fucking Woodstock '99. They got a PA. You know,
Right,
So
exactly.
it was like it's both humbling, but also like really rewarding to know that you could go show up at people's house, get sweaty, load in, you know, not take a nap like usual. Hey,
Hey, what's going on?
what's good, bro?
I'm so good to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing good. Where are you at, Adam?
I'm actually in Nashville now, but it's crazy. So one of the last interviews the last interview I did in person before COVID happened, I'm from San Diego, was at the Solana Beach at Belly Up Tavern.
Oh,
It was
right
probably
on.
like one of the last shows you played, I would
Yeah.
think.
You know, because we played. I remember we had San Diego, and then like we played that, and then we had the day off at the Solana Beach, right? Belly Up, and I had a day
Uh-huh.
off. So I went to LA on a train, and because I had to go to the Costa Rican consulate. So I went to LA on the train, and things were starting to get pretty weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up linking up with Citizen Cope, and because we like to hang out, so we went for lunch, which turned into happy hour, which turned into me kept all right, I'll get the next train. I'll get the next train.
Sure, sure.
Finally, I got like the last train back to Solana Beach to all banged up. And that ended up being the last night I went out to socialize in like 2 years. And
Oh
then
my
of
gosh.
course the next day we played up in Santa Barbara. And then at that point we went home.
Okay, so you actually did the Santa Barbara show. I remember that was
Yeah.
like the next leg of the tour,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was so weird because that was like we were like elbow fiving and all
Right.
that during
Right.
that
Right. Yeah.
time. And I think
Yeah.
we even made like a joke, like a coronavirus joke, and it was like because it was still in that weird time, like we didn't really know. And then now it's like such in bad taste, but it was like
Oh
so
my
weird.
God.
Um, yeah. Well, dude, it's so good to see. I'm so glad we were able to do this, even though it's kind of via Zoom, which is fine. I'm stoked to hear what you've been up to for the last 2 years. It's so crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, gosh, I mean, right now we're totally geared up for the new album Philadelphia,
Mhm.
Mississippi to drop,
So
and
good.
it's dropping as an NFT. It's dropping through the regular channels as well. Of course, 30 Tiger has been a tremendous partner for us, and this is our
Mhm.
second release with them as our distributor, home base
Mhm.
for Philadelphonic Records. And this record also has a secondary release, which is as an NFT through the Yellow Heart platforms. I actually just jumped off the Twitter Spaces for that, and so my head's pretty buzzing about that. But this is a wonderful record for us, kind of the pilgrimage of the hip hop blues
Mhm.
um, to Mississippi to kind of immerse ourselves with all these emerging blues men and women and established blues men and women, and the record's really cool.
It's a fan. I had a chance to hear the record. It's so good. I mean, I really, really, the whole way through. I mean, the whole album is incredible. And I want to talk to you about the record, and the NFT thing is so cool. The video that you guys put out with the Bored Apes,
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's so good. So I figured that had some tie into the NFTs. So we'll talk about that as well. But I don't know if you mind kind of recapping just a little bit, because this podcast is about you and your journey in music, and we heard your story quite a bit on the first interview, but maybe we could just catch up a little bit on that, and then I want to talk to you about the new record.
yeah. I mean, do you mean like the overall everything?
I'll do. So you're obviously born and raised in Philadelphia. You talked to us about that. I couldn't remember, like, was guitar the first instrument you learned?
Yeah, I started playing guitar when I was around eight. Well, when I was 8 years old,
Mhm.
it was the legendary family story. I was beating on the back of the station wagon, behind my mom. My mom would always rock out to the radio and sing along, and so I was, back there, no car seat, just running around the back seat and
Sure.
yeah. And my mom said, "Oh, kid, you got the beat. Maybe you should take an instrument. What do you want to take?" Oh, of course, I want to take guitar. So yeah, I started taking folk guitar lessons, and I hated it, and it was terrible, and it was the worst thing ever. And my mom was trying to help me by learning with me, and that would really piss me off because she was better than me right away.
She's picking it up.
And so then, like, you know, like I hated it, but I don't know why. Like for some reason, I stuck with it during the school years, the lessons, and basically I was learning to I had three formative guitar teachers, and they all were teaching me to, not, coordinate with one another, but over the years, they all taught me how to play and sing. So that was the thing. I'd have a lesson and they mostly teach me Beatles songs, right? So I learned like every Beatles song.
That's awesome though.
And I can still play a bunch of them, but yeah, so that was kind of looking back, that's pretty cool because I learned these to play and sing, right?
Which is something you usually don't learn guitar. I mean, the fact that they wanted to implement that into your lesson, that's so rad. Like, were you did they know you could sing, or like how did they even find that out? They just said, hey, you should try to sing and play at the same time.
Yeah, no, it was just the one teacher, the first one was Heidi Wolf, and she had this 80s band in Philly called Heidi and the Wolves.
Okay.
I remember I used to have just like, I was like, like so in love with her. Staring like at her while we're doing this show. But anyhow, Heidi, I don't know what it was, but yeah, they'd write the lyrics out and then write the chord when to, play this chord over this word. And so slowly but surely I got better and better as the years went on, very slowly. But then I kind of was competent, and my first performance was in 3rd grade playing Norwegian Wood for my music class. And I said, this song does not have any words, which of course it does, but I just
you play the instrumental.
Yeah. And because singing was really embarrassing, it takes a lot of guts to like sing in front of people, so
definitely.
Yeah, I started writing songs when I was by the time I was 13, I could tune it. It sounded pretty good. I started writing songs when I was 15. And then that was the catalyst for like everything, songwriting, finding that expression, having a voice as a young man, a young kid, starting to be a young man. And really it was an outlet, and that just became everything. And then once I started making songs and I wanted to record them, so I'd record them on my boombox, and then I want to perform them. And I don't know why, but that's just what I wanted to do, and that's what led me to being here today.
Sure. Well, I'm quick question on just those early songs you're writing. Do you know the moment when you said, or the first time you sung in front of people, like was it your own song or was it a cover song? And like, what gave you the courage at that point to do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was, I guess that was that. Well, yeah, I mean, like your parents would say, oh, come and play for our friends when they're having a dinner party, or you're playing Christmas carols. But yeah, there was always like that. Oh no, I'm not. It was embarrassing. It's embarrassing to put yourself out like that as a young kid. So it was embarrassing for me, and but then it was kind of interesting because then I played the 10th grade talent show, and man, the crowd like was so insane, and we just kind of connected with the school, and it was just like everyone would like just they would clap their hands and stomp their feet in this big old-fashioned auditorium, and it sounded like a thunderstorm, and I was like, holy shit. And I got interviewed by the school paper.
Wow.
I was in 10th grade, and I was like, man, this is great. And I told my little girlfriend that week, I was like, oh, I had my mom's bagged lunch, and I was like, all I need is this bagged lunch and my guitar, and that's all I need. Because it wasn't about money or like anything. I think the interesting thing too, like when I was a kid in the 80s, like there was no internet, right? So there was no access to the music business. So there was never like a thing that like, oh, I'm gonna be a rock star, like, or I'm gonna be on MTV. Like that shit was like the Star Wars galaxy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no thing like kids today are like, wow, like they all know that Taylor Swift like writes her own songs, and she, and she can make all this money. And I think there's this thing like with kids, just because they can put records out when they're 13 years old or 10 years old. It's like, there's an instant thing like of like monetizing this young skill or making it
right.
But for me, it was I felt like I'm thankful because it seems to me it was really pure, the songwriting aspect, right? I was writing songs as like a knee-jerk reaction to being a kid and trying to figure out how I felt about this and that. And so that was powerful. And I could go back and a lot of those songs that I wrote as a teenager have made it onto G Love Records, you know, onto, you know, major album releases. So that's another part of it too. I think that like when on the flip side, you know, when if you're a parent and you got a kid that's writing songs, like, well, don't just blow it off, because they have this young mind that's opening up and wanting to express itself, and they could come with some powerful stuff.
Well, that's interesting that you said some of those early songs ended up making it on to later G Love Records. Like with that, like, so when you, like this 10th grade talent show you were talking about, was the style and sound that you were playing similar to what you were doing now? With kind of the hip hop over like a blues, guitars, and okay.
Yeah, not that yet, but it was well, no, I mean, yes and no, because the fact that I still performed the tunes that they made on the records, yes, as far as what people, the stylistically, like the blues, hip hop blues thing, no, because by then I was like really, and I should say I was only really influenced by like Bob Dylan, the Beatles, Velvet Underground, folk rock like Donovan, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Neil Young, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So more like folk rock, right?
Gotcha.
That's kind of what it was. And then the reason I kind of came away from that style was because again, like in 1986 or whatever, or 88, you know, no one was really messing with that style in my high school, right?
Well, no one was really messing with that style at all. I mean, to really, I mean, to be honest, right? There's
I'd go to like open mic nights, like not school related, and then I'd see that a lot of people knew who Bob Dylan was.
oh, you meant Bob Dylan. Sorry, I thought you were talking about like the style that you ended up falling into more now. So.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
So then, because people were like into folk music, and now I realize, oh, other people heard of Bob Dylan, right?
Sure. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But and then I was like, I gotta flip the switch. So then that led me on my search. I went to the record store, was like, is there anybody that plays, you know, so I had by then started playing harmonica on the rack. Is anyone that plays solo acoustic guitar, harmonica on the rack, and sings solo acoustic, no band, other than Neil Young and Bob Dylan? They gave me this. They're like, yes. They gave me this John Hammond record called John Hammond Country Blues. Okay. And that was John's rendition of, you know, 10. It was like a roadmap because there weren't any originals. I could look who wrote it and go back and find these records of all these blues artists. And then I went down the wormhole or the rabbit hole to discover the blues. And then that set me apart from all the folk singers, right? And then I started writing songs about the city of Philadelphia, and I called it street side blues. It was kind of like urban poetry. So I was writing songs about the basketball courts and the water ice stand and the riding the city bus and homeless people and graffiti writing, skateboarding, and all this culture of hip hop. And then soon I started rapping, and that's when I came into the G Love style.
Okay, interesting. When did you start playing the harmonica? And was that just because you love Dylan and Neil Young? You're like, okay, there's the other people are trying to do that, but nobody's playing the harmonica and doing it at the same time.
Yeah, again, like one of my guitar teachers, this is just a quick side note. This guy was so classic. He passed, may rest in peace. Waco Smith. He was like if you lived in Philadelphia downtown in the 70s and 80s, you would have known who this guy was, because he was always out of the corner of 3rd and South, and every day he wore the same thing, like a flannel shirt like this, kind of red or white checks, you know, jeans cut off at the bottom because he couldn't get jeans that short because he was like 5'3". He was like 5'3", 250 pounds, gray, you know, salt and pepper beard, big 10-gallon cowboy hat. You're talking about in the city of Philadelphia. He would wear his cowboy boots and the brown work gloves with the red felt. And everyone thought he was like homeless or whatever. He ended up like answering like the flyer my mom left at the supermarket for give my kid guitar lessons. Dude, I'd go up into his one his little studio apartment, Adam, and it would be like one bare light bulb, a fan he would turn on no matter what day of the year, a half empty bottle of Jack Daniels, a single bed, two chairs.
Oh
And
man.
he would say, all right, do the lesson. I start doing the lesson and he would fall asleep. So I was like 15 or I was like 13. And so he'd fall asleep. And then I just finished playing. And I didn't want to wake him up. So I just sit there till he woke up. Eventually go, okay, well, I'm gonna teach you this. But anyhow, he was actually trained at Juilliard. So he was like a
Whoa.
classical guitar player, but also like had a honky tonk band. So anyway, long story short, he had a harmonica player in a honky tonk band. And this guy, Dave, I think his name was, he gave myself and my manager, who was my best friend since second grade, Jason Brown, he gave us one harmonica lesson. So we learned how to like, make a train and down, well, make it sound like a cry.
Mhm.
And then that was it. Then I got the rack and boom.
Whoa. Okay. That's great. And with harmonicas, though, aren't they? Each one is a different key. Is that how it works? I know you can get different ones. I don't know a whole lot about harmonica, but do you have to have multiple ones per song you're playing, or do you just stay in one?
Yeah, no, generally, like, yeah, you're right. Each harmonic, the regular kind of harmonicas that I play, not the chromatic harmonica, but the kind of the regular harmonica, your basic harmonica can play in, depending on how good you are. I can play
Okay, you can play
in
multiple
2 or
keys.
3 keys, or
Okay.
4 keys, depending on the position. But I generally use 2 positions, first position and second position.
Okay, I was just curious. I remember seeing somebody that had like a thing and that rolled out and it had like
Oh
4 or
yeah.
5 different harmonicas.
Oh yeah,
in
so
it.
so when the band switches keys, you got to switch harmonica to match whatever key they're
Oh,
playing.
interesting. Yeah, I didn't know
But once you
quite a
have the
bit about
right key, once you have the right key, you can basically not go wrong. You just have to breathe in and out of the thing, and it's going to sound pretty much good.
it. Sure. Wow. All right. So then you go to college for 1 year, right? And
Yeah.
then you drop out to just pursue music, and then ends up working pretty quickly, right? You guys got signed, or you had a song that did really well, like right away. Is that what I remember?
Yeah, like basically I went to Skidmore College for a year, which there were so many great musicians up there, and everyone was really into Fish and like kind of
Mhm.
this groove rock thing, like think Stevie Wonder, Intervision's record, and really kind of technical groove, funk, rock and roll, and I was way sophisticated over my head, and I was trying to attract players, but I was really frustrated because, not no disrespect to the couple guys that ended up playing with me, but like I couldn't get like real heavyweight musicians to so long story short, I
Right,
went
right, right.
to Boston to be a
Mhm.
street musician. I figured I can't really do anything here, and so I made the jump. I told my parents I'm gonna take a year off. And I did. So I went to Boston, got my street performer's license, and I spent a year busking that summer in 1992. And then by that December, I started getting a couple gigs in some bars, and I ended up meeting my drummer, Jeff Clemens, the house man, at one of those. And he was 10 years older than me and well established in the local scene. So then we were able to start making our way into the clubs pretty much right away.
Mhm.
And yeah, we had our first G Love, and he brought Jimmy Jazz in the band. We had our first G Love and Special Sauce gig in like maybe January of 1993,
Mhm.
and that October we signed a fucking major label record deal with Epic Records,
It's so
and already had
crazy.
most of the record done, which were originally demos, which became the album. Yeah.
That's so
Then,
crazy.
and then yeah, then we hit the road, and that was it.
Wow. I remember you saying last time that your mom wanted you to go back to school, and she kept kind of asking about that for a bit. Maybe even you made a joke about it, like still now she's waiting or something like that. But you said something like you wrote an essay, right, to get into BU.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was curious. You said that those lyrics, that they became what blues music was, or
Yeah,
parts of it, right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to know if you ever did you get into the school? You said you wrote it as an acceptance
I
letter.
did. I
You
did.
did get in?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was my college essay. It was called, it must be somewhere, but it's called A Child of the 80s. And
Hmm.
well, that was the deal. I told my parents, I will apply to go to college. I'll take a year off and apply to go to college in what would have been, fall of 93. So I did. So, I did apply. I was accepted to BU, but by that time, by that spring, it was like shit was
Yeah, you already had the
cracking.
deal, right?
Well,
Yeah.
no, I didn't have a deal yet, but like
Oh,
we were playing, we were on the rise as like a local band, and it was just like, I mean, the energy was, that's why I always remember that year 1993 as like being one of the golden years of my life. It's just like the energy was crazy, like, because we're playing all these little Irish bars, and like everyone was, every gig we're playing, we're getting multiple gig offers. And we play this place, the Plowing Stars in Cambridge, and the first night we went in to play, the regulars at the bar, kind of gave us the side glance, and we're like, we don't like your music. It's like, well, let us play. Maybe you will. And man, by that residency every Monday night, like there would be a huge line down the block, and like it was the thing. And like to this day,
yeah.
still meet all these fans. So we used to go to Plowing Stars every Monday night.
That's so
This
cool.
one it was magic, man. It was popping. So yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be going to be you.
Yeah, that's cool that you got in though. At least you had that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, the song obviously hit big too, but the fact is that you wrote that and you ended up getting in. You didn't tell me if you got in or not. Well, when you signed to Epic, like signing to Epic, was that just like, oh my God, like obviously it had to be life changing in that way, like probably something that you were striving for.
Yeah, man, it was such like, it was like this whole whirlwind of emotions and everything that you could expect, because it was like, because we were really happy, I mean, like we were popping off in Boston. Like I had fallen madly in love with a girlfriend, and you know these shows we were playing once or twice a week were like euphoric, and it was just exciting. And we were writing all these tunes, and now I had a band, so I was like writing specifically like songs to be played with a band, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool. So like when we ended up getting, through playing like these music conferences that they had back in the day when people were getting record deals,
Right. Sure.
um, so we got accepted to play, Philadelphia Music Conference, and from there we got our producer.
Mm-hmm.
And that show we played a showcase with an up and coming Philadelphia band you might have heard of called the Square Roots. Now known
Oh wow. Okay.
like us and then the Roots, and we got signed first. You know what I mean? And then Beck also got signed then. So like, but anyhow, the thing is that when we played a new music seminar in New York, got a manager,
Mm-hmm.
he started shopping us, and then there was like a bidding, or we didn't want to get in a bidding war. I don't know why. That was so but we got a sweet record deal with Epic Records. And I remember getting a call because I was at Jeff's. So Jeff, my drummer, look, this is how we're living. He had a studio apartment too, with a shared bathroom down the hall, and a hot plate and a little mini fridge. And it always smelled like salami in his fucking apartment because he was living off of like a pound of salami every week. And so like, we had all kind of great menus, like pound of dry pasta, can of chickpeas, clove of garlic. That's dinner,
There you go. Sure.
dinner. Mac and cheese with a can of tuna and one onion, $2 dinner. But yeah, we got the call like, you're getting, we got the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So on. It was like I started crying because I was like, it was like a dream come true, but also like I had this feeling that nothing was ever going to be the same, and it wasn't. And then all of a sudden, it was like you were on the fringe of society, and now you're all of a sudden being funded by like one of the biggest corporations in corporate America, what I'm saying, a corporate world. It was daunting. It was a lot of pressure. I was 20, I was just trying to like figure out, who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, like I was doing like hip hop. I was basically appropriating these two forms of African American art, right? Hip
Right.
hop and
And
blues.
blues, right.
That's like, boom, started doing press, and like it was just immediate. It was like they called me Garrett Dutton the third, which I'm not. I'm Garrett Drew Dutton. My father's Lewis Garrett Dutton Jr., right? So, and at the time, I was completely horrified to be white, and to be called Garrett Dutton the third was basically like, like just trying to call me out as like, a rich white kid
Rich red kid, right.
playing hip hop. And that's exactly like how it was like met. Of course, years later, Eminem dropped his Marshall Mathers the third, and that was cool then. For me, it was part of music was also, that rebellious aspect of wanting to do something different than my mother and father, who I love dearly and I'm my biggest fans. But my father is like an attorney, and my mom, she was a housewife and a chef, and she supported us. And this, but I wanted to do something different that was very like traditional and American, and I had the opportunity to go that kind of route, but I didn't. And it was specifically to kind of get away from, like the benefits of growing up. So again, like to me, music was never about making money, right? It was about like following my artistic path, and if anything, like running from money. And then of course, over the years, like you realize, oh, gotta make some fucking money.
Right. Yeah, and those days, that was when major labels just had such deep pockets. I mean, now, I mean, they still do, but they're not handing out what they were before. But then you could also get yourself in a bind where it's like they're fronting you this money, and then you're like, like now I owe you all this money. Like, how did that happen? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's just
Still owe them.
oh, you do, is how you said.
Well, yeah, I mean, saying like, like basically like we're unrecouped at whatever record labels we've ever been able to work with. I mean,
Right.
we sold a lot of I mean,
You guys,
again,
yeah, I
like,
was gonna say you sold a bunch of albums.
yeah, but it doesn't matter, because the more you'd sell, like the more that they would spend. So like then, then you have a record that did, like our first record probably sold over 800,000 copies, but that happened over like 20 years,
Mhm.
And so, and the other records sold hundreds of thousands copies each in the 90s. And then of course, once Napster hit, that
Yeah,
every
all
record. So
changed.
my latest record, The Juice, which was my first Grammy nomination,
I was gonna
sold
say
10,000 copies. So it's like, whatever, like
which is now like unheard of though. I mean, 10,000 copies of a record. I mean, now it's just like streams, right? And maybe
right.
singles people will buy.
Right.
But I'm curious. Okay, so after coronavirus hit, we can skip ahead forward quite a bit here. Just because I'm curious about this new record and what you have going on. So with the Juice, you didn't have the Juice out, did you, when we saw you?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
it had just came out?
yeah, it just came out. And that was
Okay.
our like tour. That was
Yeah, to
our record
support it,
release
right?
tour.
Supporting
Yeah,
the record.
yeah.
Okay. And
Or
then that,
yeah. No, I think it had just dropped. Yeah.
because it was March 11th.
I think it dropped in February. Like,
Okay. So I remember hearing it. So I didn't know if it was out yet
yeah.
or not. But yeah, so you were supporting that record, and then that one gets nominated for a Grammy. And well, tell me like how, okay, the world shuts down. Are you like, okay, I have this new record. We kind of had a chance to support it now. Like, where were you at that point then? Is it like, what do we do? We're watching the world shut down. When can, like, I guess tell me where your headspace was at.
Yeah, like certainly like panic mode, like, Chicken Little, the sky is falling right away. Like
Right.
I had this feeling like when, after 2 days after we spoke in person, being in Santa Barbara and getting the call, this is the last show, you're going home, and just being like, oh my God, like I feel like the sky's about to fall. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is crazy. Everyone's bugging out. And then, I flew home. The bus dropped us at LAX the next morning, and I flew home to Boston. The airports were fucking like empty. And then I live in Cape Cod, which is empty in February.
Anyway.
So I leaving Boston, and the city lights are going away. And then there's like, no cars on the road. And I come down to, our little slice of heaven down here, and at the end of the road. And that's where we stayed. So I remember calling my wife, Kelsey, be like, go, go get beans, get rice,
Right.
go to the supermarket now, get toilet paper, stock up, you got to go now, go. And then we came home and we're just like, fuck, how are we gonna, like, we have to keep making money. So I started doing live streams, and then the live streams would fund, I would take half of the tips from Venmo and PayPal, and we'd keep half, and then the other half will go to like a music venue, like the employees from
Oh, that's so cool.
employees from the First Ave in Minneapolis or whatever. And so we were able to raise I think we were pulling out some money though. We make, maybe make $1,000 or $2,000 on the live streams at first.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then so we were able to like send some money out to the people that worked at these clubs that weren't getting anything. And we would keep a little money, and that felt good. And then we got chickens and goats and fucking farms.
Oh, that's cool.
Got all that shit going. And then it was just kind of like an awesome time. Then we figured out like, okay, this is great to be home and like know that I love my wife and get to spend time with my little kids. And then I knocked my wife up again. We had just had little Garrett, baby, and I get to like be with him every day of his life, which I was going to be away. So there was all this like kind of silver lining. And then you can cut me off anytime,
no, this is amazing. Thank you.
Well, then we started doing, we got a call to play a graduation party for just a family here in Orleans, Massachusetts, where we live. Okay, we're going to go to these people's house, play for the mother, the father, the son, his brother, and the 3 friends from college.
Because they're doing probably like virtual graduations and all that stuff at the time, obviously. Yeah.
So we went to their house and I performed for them, and we said, oh shit. Okay. And we walked out there with like, whatever, a couple $1,000. We said, okay, this is the new shit. So then we started doing backyard parties, and I got linked up with Bose, who gave me an artist discount on a PA, and then later kind of bumped me up to Bose ambassador and gave me like the newest, latest PA. And we started playing backyard parties, and then it was like game on. I reconnected with my drummer, Chuck Treese, who I'd been playing with kind of on the fringe of Special Sauce since the very beginning. And he and I did our duo show. It was Chuck and his son Kieran, and my wife Kelsey, and I, pregnant with 2 little kids, Lewis and Garrett. And the dog, whatever dog, one of the 3 dogs we take with us in the Suburbans, fucking clocking miles. We drove to Florida and back. We drove to Mississippi and made the record and back. We went to Michigan. We did the whole West Coast playing parties, and that funded the record and kept the lights on, and really made an awesome connection with a different kind of connection with the fans. So.
Yeah, what a cool way to tour. I mean, especially playing super intimate shows in people's backyards. And like, how would people contact you to do that? They would just say, hey man, like I got 20 people that are going to show up in my house. Can you come play?
Yeah, they were at gloves@gmail.com. My wife texts every day. No, but actually we're still like, now we're back to work kind of regularly, but we're still doing, like I just did 2 repeats from last year. They did their 2nd annual G-Love party in their backyard last weekend, and like this weekend we get another one up here in Wellfleet at the Cape. And so yeah, we're still doing them.
That's
so if
anybody
cool. does want to do them, they can contact gloves@gmail.com. We bring the PA. And then like I got this hodgepodge light rig because I didn't have a light rig. I had like a painting light, And then, but people would get up for these parties, and some people would buy these little light rig, and I was like, damn, that's a nice light. And they'd say, oh, you keep it. No, I couldn't keep it. No, really, you should take it. No, I don't do it. Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you insist.
I have like this awesome light rig, all these cool stage lights that I use. So it's fun, man. And again, like it's like, yeah, we would kind of do it by whatever the state guidelines were, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Of like, they were like, you could have 10 people gathering. That's what we tell the host. You can have 10 people. And, You know, we never got in trouble. The cops have come a number of times to the parties because we're in people's neighborhoods.
Right.
But
They're
it's
probably like stoked, like, oh my gosh.
it was like the most humbling thing, and also the most kind of something that I needed like so bad, just to kind of get my hands dirty, you know, loading my own gear, setting I hadn't owned a PA since the Plow and Stars days, right? I hadn't
Yeah.
like owned, I hadn't need, why do I need a PA? I'm playing fucking Woodstock 99. They got a PA, you know.
Right,
It
exactly.
was like it's most humbling, but also like really rewarding to know that you could go show up at people's house, get sweaty, load in, you know, not take a nap like usual, you know, go play, rock whatever people were there. Like one time we showed up, there was just two people. They just wanted to take mushrooms and just have us vibe out.
That is so awesome. What a way, right? You're like, okay, I'm gonna get G-Love to come play. It's just gonna be you and I.
Like, are you sure you don't want to? You sure you don't want to invite people? You know, you can have up to 15 people. No, we're good. You sure?
Okay.
My wife's like, what the fuck is going on? And they're like,
Right.
oh, they're like, you want some shrooms? Like, no, but I have one of those cookies.
Right. There you go. Wow, that's so cool. With in that you said that funded this record, which
Yeah.
how did you obviously did you know about Philadelphia, Mississippi before the concept of the record, or like how did this whole concept start? And then I want to talk to you about the NFTs, because from what I was reading about you, you've been into it for, you know, a handful of years already.
Yeah. This is crazy because I just had this thought in my head to make this record called Philadelphia, Mississippi. After doing the Juice, it's been in my mind, like I want to do the Philadelphia, Mississippi project, just because there's a city in Mississippi called Philadelphia, and
right,
Philadelphia, and play the blues of Mississippi, right?
Sure, yeah, that's what when I first thought, I was like, this is actually really a real place.
Yeah,
You're just kind of combining in the thing, and then I like Wikipedia'd it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a spot.
But we actually recorded in Coldwater, Mississippi, but Luther Dickinson. So this record has a bunch of cool stories. Like the one story is the pilgrimage of the hip hop blues. So Chuck Treese and I, who is drummer, but also plays bass, guitar, vocals, percussion, everything. He's like one of those guys that's like the best musician you've ever heard on every instrument, you know? But like, so it was our pilgrimage, you know, going down to like, you know, to where this shit is from, you know what I'm saying? And immersing ourselves down there for a week and getting to connect with all these emerging blues men and women and old timers too. And so the next part of the story is Luther Dickinson. So his father, Jim Dickinson, who passed, rest in peace, Jim, he produced my second record in 1995.
Really?
Yeah. So
wow.
And actually in 1994, we visited with him in Memphis, and he took us to that studio, Zebra Ranch Studio, not record there. However, he did produce a record in New Orleans. So now almost 30 years later, you know, so Luther and I have known each other since then, and his brother Cody. So Luther Dickinson, I called Luther, said, I want to do this record, Philadelphia, Mississippi, and you know, the pilgrimage of hip hop blues. And look,
did he become a producer too? Is he a producer as well?
Yeah, he's an artist, but he grew up, you know, kind of cutting his teeth as a studio guy. So yeah, he's excellent producer.
Okay.
And so yeah, I said, look, man, will you produce this record? Can we do it at the studio? And then that was it, because Luther, you know, he knows he's a real figurehead leadership of the blues community around Memphis, Mississippi. And so he was able to call a bunch of people in for the G-Love record. And then I was able to get a bunch of guys in, like John Tavius Willis and Kingfish. And then the hip hop guys like Schoolie D, Speech, and Chuck Treese got Freddie Fox, who I can't believe is on my record, like, because he's like the most fucking hardcore MC ever. He's on a G-Love record, and he's like stoked about it. It's so cool. Speech, of course, is like probably my most, you know, my biggest influence as an MC, just because when I heard the song Tennessee, he's sing rapping, and that changed. So yeah, so that was the stories, and then basically like because it was a collaborative record, right? So how do you approach that? And because we're on a 5-day time crunch, right, between our last house party and this festival.
Oh, so you did it in between. Okay.
Yeah, we had like an anchor date, which was this festival with the Allman Betts band. And so we had like this 5-day window to make the record, which we felt good about. But Chuck and I did a writing session on the way down. I had some songs kind of in various stages. We kind of honed in on some of those. And then basically it was like we would have shit prepared for the guests. So everyone who came through was tasked with like bring a groove or a hook.
Okay.
Or a melody, or just show up and be ready to do your thing. So and everybody came in various stages of like preparation, but there's a really like interesting thing, like when you get creative people together and kind of people rise to the occasion. It's like, it's intimidating, right? Like anybody be scared, like, oh, you want me to write something right now? Or
right.
And people kind of
put you on the spot, right?
Yeah, like there was this moment with this song My Ball, which
that's one of my favorite ones on the record. I made a note of that. That's such a rad song.
Yeah, that thing is so cool. So I had this idea that I wanted to have like we had these breaks, and then the groove was just going to be like a hip hop groove. I had a groove that I could play, but basically I want to see what John Tavius and Kingfish could do. So I said, yo, what's going to happen is that Chuck's going to play a hip hop beat, and then you guys are going to count to 4, and you're going to come in the key of E and just play some kind of looping, blues riff. Dude, they just like, all right, okay. All they really want to do is just jam blues. Like they didn't even want to like do this shit that I was trying to make them do. They were like super trepidatious, if that's a word about it. And so like I'll never forget, because I'm sitting here, John Tavius sitting here, and a Kingfish across the room from him, and he's like, all right, bet. He goes, all right, bet. And he looked at Kingfish, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they came in playing the groove that's on the record. These two really cool syncopated blues riffs that just came out of nowhere, and they just played them perfect. And it was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Cool,
With the amount of features and people that you have collaborating on this record in only 5 days to do it, how did you manage that? You just had a certain amount of people come on one day, and then day 2, 3, 4, 5, like,
yeah, it was so stressful to think about planning it, and then the way it went down was like so natural and seamless.
Okay.
Really cool. Like, yeah, basically we'd say like, all right, we're gonna get the session started at whatever 11. So 11 to 1, we're gonna kind of prep a track. So the next artist to come in, or at least gets an idea down. Then they come down, or then we'd start it with them. And like Alvin Youngblood Hart was he was awesome, because he's like a studio guy, but he's also a blues man. So like he just had just great rhythms to play. So yeah, someone would start rhythm, and then and that was it. And but yeah, it was like, and then it was cool because it was like a reunion, right? Because one person would be wrapping up the session while the next person showed up, and all these people were either friends or had heard about each other.
Oh, so they're running into each other as they're leaving.
So like coming. There's this great picture of like Kingfish and John Tavius and their buddy J Hop watching Alvin Youngblood just because they kept saying, oh, Mr. Alvin, play another song, play another song. So Alvin's like sitting on just the way the studio is, he was using the toilet as a chair, because and the boys were out back because the door opens to the outside, and there's a picture of Alvin sitting on the can, with the lid closed. But sure. Then the boys watching him play the blues. But so there was a lot of that kind of like instant camaraderie, and it somehow worked out, and everybody kind of rose to the occasion, including us. And I had this feeling like also kind of like being again, just being kind of like nervous going into it, being like, oh man, I hope I don't get, I just feeling not, am I going to have the confidence to like lead the session with all these like super authentic blues, women, you know what I'm saying? And just like coming into their world, and again, kind of back to the appropriation of this art form. It's something that's been, that's a real situation that I've kind of dealt with in different ways over the years. And so anyway, I didn't feel nervous. I felt confident. I felt like I was leading the session, but also following the greatness of our guests. And it just was such an awesome feeling in them. The last thing I'll say was the one night, this old timer RL Boyce came through, and he kind of been having a moment like before COVID, but he's an old guy, old man. And he came in, and bro, it was like, this is kind of thing is like a blues man. I kind of always kind of had a dream, a musical fantasy about like getting to, well, we've just basically got, we basically drank a whole bottle of whiskey and jammed the blues till Chuck left the session. He's like, all right, I'm out. Blues all night long. At the end, we traded hats and we just laughed, and
that's so cool.
Carried on. And he was so funny. He'd be like, oh yeah, I like that. I like that riff you played. Well, let me show you this one.
That's so, man.
He had all his one-liners. It was great.
You can tell that you guys had just had so much fun putting the record together. It's like it's very like optimistic feeling when I listen to it, which is really cool. Like it's uplifting. The album just like the way it flows, like from the first track to the shout out to the end, which I think is so cool. It's just the riff. You guys are going on and thanking all these people that helped on the record, and just the concept behind it all. And even with the song right before that, with the Philly sound, just talking about where you guys had came from and the other artists that came out of the same city, and it's just such a cool record. And like I said, you can hear that you guys are having such a great time putting it together.
Yeah, and back to like, and also got to give shouts to Luther Dickinson, because like just because of Luther, he's a very interesting guy, and I mean he's such a talented guy. He's such a humble guy, but he's also a frontman of a band, and one of the great lead guitar players of our time. So he has an ego, he has confidence, but he's one of these guys that's very kind of like open and very gentle, right? And as a leader, he's kind of he can be firm, but he's also very gentle. So it had this openness to the session. He just kind of made it all happen. Like when I think back, like, I mean, he made it happen on every level, bro, because like he made it happen, financially cheap, and that was kind of everything at that time, because, no one knew where it was happening. So, we were able to pay everybody, like literally we took the backyard cash from people's parties, and like I paid for the studio in cash, I paid all the musicians cash, and everybody came down. It was cool because we got to give everybody a day's work, and get to hopefully do something that, again, like part of the mission for this record is not just to make a great G-Love record, but also kind of to throw some light on some of these, like I said, emerging talent of these young men and women that like, that are keeping their cultural art form alive in this very like present and potent and original way, and not just, because for a minute, if you were thinking about the blues, you're thinking, well, this blues is going to die, right? Because there's no younger generation of African men and women authentically carrying on this tradition because of whatever, whereas hip hop is in no fear of dying, because that is also this authentic,
and it's just getting bigger and bigger.
Bigger. But to see these guys like Kingfish and John Tavius like coming out and like, yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, no, and then with this whole like NFT thing, is that like I want to hear how you're doing it, because interviewed Rain from Our Lady Peace, and their last record is an NFT format too, like similar. But I want to hear how you guys are doing, and like when did you get involved in NFTs? And yeah, I guess we'll go from there.
Yeah, man, like it started kind of like dabbling in like Bitcoin and crypto in December of 2017, and kind of just kept a little finger in the pot, but not enough that, you know, really financially set me free or anything like that. But my road manager, he's quit the road and he's doing well. Anyhow, yeah, like Citizen Cope, we talk a lot about the music industry often, and he left me this really cryptic message one night. It was like, yo, G, man, I found a thing, man. We're gonna be all right. Like, we're gonna have this gonna work. And I'm like, what is he fucking talking about? And then the next week, like everyone's talking about NFTs, because, you know, like whatever, like a crypto punk sold for like at Sotheby's for like, you know, 20 million bucks or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, so then I was like, oh shit. So I made an NFT that day on Rarible, and I think it's still living there. And then I happened to be, this is while we were on the West Coast Solbacue tour with the family. We're staying at you know, friends in high places, but I mean, whatever, like one of the guys who started GoPro, we're surfing buddies, and
his house. There's a San Diego company. I don't know, maybe you're around that area, or they were in San Diego.
He lives in Kauai now, but it's got Neil Dana, but we stayed at his house. He wasn't there in Half Moon Bay. And and so actually his buddy was house sitting, who was like in the crypto and NFTs and stuff like that, blah blah blah. And so, you know, whatever, long story short is that he kind of was coaching me on the NFT thing. And so now fast forward, then he started hearing about Kings of Leon dropped on this Yellow Heart platform. In the meantime, I had put out 2 separate NFTs that were not necessarily music related, were related to the artwork on our videos, but what's called a generative series of 10,000. And that didn't really do so well, but it did enough to be like, wow, we can actually make like real loot doing this. And then so then it was like the dream, like to put the album out as an NFT. So linked up with Yellow Heart, which is a really interesting platform. And yeah, like we're just right in the middle of our release right now, which looks like this. So basically, like, people sign up now. So if you don't know about the space or whatever, like it's all about like building community. Kind of, you can think of it as far as it relates to music as like a fan club. Okay. Why would you want to buy a album as an NFT? Well, you might want to support your favorite artist because Spotify does not pay anything. Apple Music does not pay anything. The record companies don't pay anything, although they're helping to put your music out. And it's very hard for artists, you know, unless the very top 1%, people like Taylor Swift or like, you know, Eminem or guys like that, to make money on their recordings. It's just a fact, right? No one buys records. Streaming doesn't pay.
Right. They'd rather you could pay Spotify whatever per month and then stream your album endless times, but you're not seeing any of that. Maybe a percentage of a penny like per X thousand streams or something.
I think if you get 1 million streams and you own 100% of the song, it's like $4,000 or something.
That's crazy.
If you sold 1 million singles, well, that would put some money in your pocket. You know?
Right, but who's buying? Yeah, and it's totally different now.
So that's one that's so. Anyhow, if you buy my NFT, the money's going, 90% of the money's going to me. Whereas if you buy any record that I have out, you know, maybe like 4% is going to me. So that's one thing. And then the other aspect of it, maybe my NFC will sell out and there'll be a secondary market, so you could actually trade my record and sell it and make money off it. Well, that's pretty cool for the fans. And there's other community building stuff where, like, you know, the active community on Discord, which is like a chat space kind of thing. And anyways, so yeah, so our drop looks like this. It's really cool actually. So the first thing is like people sign up now for this G-Love community token, which actually is a free NFT. It's NFT you get when you make a wallet on Yellow Heart, right? Which is the platform. And then and that also gives you pre-mint. So we're making 1,000 NFTs, and each one comes with a vinyl, either black or gold, right? So then the next thing that happens is if you buy it, which comes out June 6th, that's the origin NFT, and that gives you the full record, right? And you can stream it on Yellow Heart's platform, and you could also download the MP3s on your computer, right? And then after that, there's the next NFT tells you, so this is your third NFT you get. This one indicates whether you got a black record or a gold record or one of 5 test pressings and a meet and greet, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, wow.
And then there's even one more. And then there's one, I feel like, and you get for all this for $9.99.
Yeah. And if you order now.
But then the last thing you get is the generative thing, which is 1,000 unique variations of the album artwork. So you actually get like 4 digital pieces of artwork. You get the album to stream, and you get a vinyl, and then chances to like win, you know, tickets and shit. So
that's so rad.
A lot of value. It's $175. But again, you know, this is something that you know, most NFTs go for, you know, a couple $100. So even in that world, it's kind of cheaper. But
and you're getting like physical things, and like you're getting a physical record, you're getting the record to stream, you're also getting the digital artwork, you're getting an opportunity to win tickets or this or that and the other thing. I mean, like you said, it's such a cool thing. Like I feel like more artists are going to have to go this route, or they should be going this route with the NFTs, because like you said, it's essentially a fan club that you are buying into,
right?
That's giving you perks that you're not going to get any other way. And then you own it in the sense that you said you could trade it later.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy to think. Cause like the other person I was talking to about it, like I didn't quite get it. And like the way that Our Lady Peace did it was a little bit differently, where you would fund into the album. So like I could spend X amount of, you know, cryptocurrency on Love from Philly. And then if it hits the radio and does all this money, then you could buy into a percentage of the royalties, so to speak.
Oh, that's cool.
So like you were like,
thing.
That's how Our Lady Peace did it on their record. Cool. We're basically like a stock. You're owning this fraction of this one song, and then if it makes money, then you get whatever percentage back.
That's so cool. That's like a community DAO. That's pretty cool. That's interesting. One thing about that to me is like, wow, it's so hard to quantify, right? But I guess not, because you get your royalty statements, and then you could say like, well, this is what the record has done royalty wise, and they're going to put that in a community wallet and disperse that.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting how, and I don't know how much of the percentage of the song that he, you know, is available, because he's not going to say 100% of the song is going to go up for grabs, because then so I don't know how that it was all broken down, but
maybe he already got enough on the front end. Sorry, like, because you made this other point, which was like the GoFundMe, because that's kind of another way to look at it, is like, this is kind of like the next step of like, if you wanted to support your favorite artist making a record and like do a Kickstarter campaign or a GoFundMe and like buy into that thing, this is kind of what that is as well.
Right. It totally is. Because then it's okay, I made this record, you can help support it directly to support me. Right. And in return, I'm going to give you not only, because some people are weary about like, you know, it's digital space, like just digital, like now you actually have a physical record and the digital assets that kind of go along with it, which is so cool. And like you said, it could be, it's worth something to another. If you said how many 10,000 there you're going to do, or obviously limited, or 1,000. So there's 1,000. And if a huge G-Love fan missed the boat, and then now you own this piece, it could be worth, you know, $500 to somebody else.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And it's like, somebody put it to me in the sense that like, what if you bought into something like a Taylor Swift song that she never released, and then she blows up even more, and then it's like, well, now I own this unreleased song, like that one guy that bought that Wu-Tang record that was like the only and he bought it for like $2 million. Like it could be lucrative, but it's also you're supporting an artist directly, and you're not supporting. I'm not buying some rare, album that you released, like a first pressing of your first album that some other person owns, and you're not receiving any of the,
Right. So that's another part of it, is like the secondary stuff. You take that Wu-Tang, because the Wu-Tang thing is an interesting thing, because that's not an NFT, although too bad it's not, because that thing, whoever bought it first, they just flipped it again, because I saw that it sold at auction and like a crypto guy got it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he paid $4 million for it. But here's the thing, so it's going up in value, but because it's not an NFT, maybe I'm wrong, but like they don't get a royalty on the secondary sales. Whereas the NFT, you have a built-in royalty, like 2 to 10%. So if you bought the NFT and then it does go up in value and you sell it for 500, well, I would get a small percentage, like maybe 5% of that will come back to me as the artist in perpetuity.
Right. And they're not seeing that. Like Wu-Tang put the record out and it sold to someone who had it, or they had it. Somebody had it. Like, they're not getting any money from that. And then it goes for 2 million, and to that guy, that pharmaceutical dude who sells it for 4 million. So he makes 2 million on it. And then they're still not making anything on it. Right.
As far as we know,
Ghostface Killer's sitting back like, where's my cut of this? Yeah. Right. I guess, yeah, as far as we know. But yeah, because I love the concept of with the video you did too, with Love from Philly and the Bored Apes. That was like that was when the NFT for me, I was like, the cyberpunk thing was, obviously that kind of got my attention. But then with the apes, I'm like, okay, this is like turning really into something where people are making a lot of money, and you utilize that. And I love the one that you made of yourself, and like it was so cool. Like it's such a cool concept.
Yeah, I mean, actually that kind of gives you an idea, like the strength of like this community, just because it's like a new thing. So everywhere that you engage with is like, it's like as if we both know that there's a secret ice cream store that opened down the block, and just so far, so we're like buddies now over this ice cream. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that. But anyhow, there was the guy hit me on Twitter, this guy who, it's actually called the Blazed Ape Smokers Club, which is a takeoff of the characters of the Bored Ape, which is famously worth tons and tons and tons of money.
Sure.
But anyhow, he had hit me up because he had done one a character for Amir Questlove from The Roots. Like, yo, G, can you help me get this to Amir? Well, Amir and I know each other since we were kids, but like I don't have his number, and we don't stay in touch or anything.
Right.
And so I was like, well, fuck that. What about the G Love one? You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's how it's thinking.
So he actually did. He made a G Love one, and I was like, holy shit! It's I'll pull it up. I can just show it on the camera. But so basically, then I was like, yo, man, would you consider doing a video? Because then it would pump your Blaze Day Smokers Club, and we have this song Love from Philly, and he's a Philly guy. So he said, yeah, sure. So he made the video. He made a character of Schoolie D and Chuck,
okay.
And so that was what that was. But then let me just find this real quick. Where is this guy? I'm looking at my Open Sea Jones. So here it is. Yeah. So there's my guy.
That's so good
character. So then, yeah, he did the whole video, like, of all these iconic. It's really cool, like animation style. So you haven't checked it out, like, check it out.
Yeah, it's so rad. And even from the Juice, the videos you were doing from them, that was have that similar NFT look.
Well,
right?
Yeah. That was done by this artist Andre Soler, and we did 4 animated videos for the Juice. And then we did an NFT with his characters from those videos. So that was that's called Juice Gang, and that's kind of like the OG project of all my forthcoming, like stuff into Web3 is Juice Gang. That's our discourse, Juice Gang,
and that's where you can go in to do to opt into what you're doing now, right? Is through the
well,
Juice
no,
Gang,
actually, it's a separate project, but yeah, no, the new one's on Yellow Heart. So yeah, if
it is on Yellow Heart, okay.
Just like in at G Love on Twitter, at Philly G Love on Instagram, G Love and Smith Sauce on Facebook, and Philadelphonic.com, and like on our link trees there, you can find like the links to get the community token or the Minute Juice Gang and see all this.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm on Philadelphonic right now. That's what I thought. But
did you get a community token yet for the?
I haven't.
Gotta get your free NFT, man.
I know. I'm gonna do that. I wanted to talk to you about it first and see how I went about it. But that's so cool. I'm so excited. This is so rad, and I love. Yeah, I really want to get into it. I want to get into it with the content I've done. Like I haven't seen a whole lot of video NFTs yet, so that's one I want to try to get some of my content in on and see what, this is such a cool world that's happening.
Yeah, so literally like you could do this interview, I mean, you could put out like, and no one's maybe done like putting out interviews yet. Like you could do this full length recording of our Zoom interview as like an NFT and just do one-on-one. So someone could like own
the conversation,
because that's basically what people are doing. They're just buying this content and then, they own it. And
that's so crazy.
They can, so if it was interesting to them or they wanted to support what you're doing.
Right.
But that's actually a good idea because you could do it like, you could do one-on-one, I'm sure you interview a lot of interesting people, and you could do one-on-one interviews with whatever artist you're doing, and then you could split the royalties with
the other person,
the artist.
I know that's what we should do. We start with yours. Yeah. Oh, that would be killer. Well, thank you so much, Garrett, for doing this. This has been so much fun. I love chatting with you. Are you playing? I'm in Nashville now, so I don't know if you're coming down here anytime soon.
Yeah, actually, I'm on tour this summer with OAR and Dispatch.
Oh, you are on that tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going through Memphis. It's not going through Nashville.
Oh, it's not. I thought I saw an email about OAR coming through here. Maybe not.
Maybe I'm wrong, but when I looked on my schedule, it's not. But
maybe it's not. Maybe I got confused because I know that they have. I saw some emails about they have a new record out. Yeah, coming out.
Yeah, but
sweet.
My drummer lives in Nashville, Jeffrey Clemens, and he does at _ the House Man. He plays some local shows around there.
Really? I'm gonna look him up.
Yeah.
Sick. Awesome. Well, if you're ever in town, man, it would be cool to catch up with you again.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's definitely do it. And,
awesome.
Thanks so much, Adam.
Yeah. Great chatting with you again, Garrett. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. I appreciate you. All right. Bye.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. You too.